So Gervonta Davis has been tearing into Turki Alalshikh on social media. You can see the posts up on screen here. The general gist of it is, according to him, that Turkey's not good for boxing, and he curiously asked, if he's so good for boxing, why is he not building up the people where he's from, as in Saudi fighters? Well, he actually is doing that, but Saudi Arabia has no history of professional boxing, so he's literally starting from scratch. You're not going to all of a sudden produce a load of talent overnight from Saudi Arabia. But of course, this speaks to the unfathomable ignorance of Gervonta Davis, and also his stupidity. You see, Gervonta Davis is one of the last fighters who still exists within what I call the PBC bubble, or the PBC cult. There was a time when there were loads of fighters in there, but due to Showtime and Fox bowing out of boxing, a lot of fighters have jumped ship. But Gervonta Davis, through some type of misplaced sense of loyalty, is still hanging around. Davis is one of these guys of very low intelligence, who's easily manipulated by the intelligent and educated people around him. People like Al Heyman, who's a Harvard graduate and what have you. And these people, I have to imagine, get in Gervonta Davis's ear, and they tell him things which he thinks are in his own best interests, but are actually against his best interests. This is exactly what they did to Deontay Wilder and many other PBC fighters. You guys remember when Adam Kaunaki and Luis Ortiz both turned down the AJ fight? You guys remember when Deontay Wilder turned down a deal of over $100 million to fight AJ for Undisputed on the advice of, presumably, at least in part, Al Heyman? PBC. Why? Because for Wilder to fight AJ on DAZN at that time would have been counter to the best interests of Showtime and Fox, the networks that PBC had deals with. So they managed to put some nonsense in Deontay Wilder's head about the deal he was offered not being fair and convinced him to turn it down. And then they got Wilder to sack Lou DiBella for good measure, the one who set up the deal, who set up the meeting with DAZN. Lou DiBella literally got Deontay Wilder the best deal of his entire career, and he got sacked for it. Absolutely incredible. To me, that's still one of the most bizarre occurrences that I have ever seen in my life in the sport of boxing. Man got sacked for doing his job too well. After the fact, Wilder and his team accused DiBella of being disloyal. I mean, you could not make it up. Because the reality is, he was actually the most loyal one to Wilder. He was the only one looking out for Wilder's best interests rather than the best interests of Fox and Showtime. But Wilder was too stupid to see it. Similar situation here, in my opinion, with Gervonta Davis burning this bridge with Turki Alalshikh. Now, that's not to say that the bridge at some point in the future can't be mended. After all, we've seen Canelo Alvarez mend his bridge with Turki Alalshikh. But Canelo is a far more intelligent person than Gervonta Davis. He's far more capable of reason, and he's far more astute as far as business. Mentally, Gervonta Davis doesn't appear to have progressed past the age of about 16 or 17. And the man's about 30. As I say, I think the reason that he's tearing into Turkey is through some type of misplaced sense of loyalty to the PBC family. And I think that is in large measure based on ethnicity. But I also think it's because Tank knows that if he were to fight on a Riyadh season card, he'd be expected to be match tough. And he wouldn't get all the terms weighted in his favor to the extent that he normally does, with stipulations about weight and rehydration clauses and all this other carry-on when Gervonta's actually in against the highest level opposition. And you see, that's what that Mayweather team are all about. Funny stipulations and all that type of stuff. Mayweather did it himself for years. Again, presumably being advised to do so by Al Heyman, at least in some instances. So the same formula is now being applied to Gervonta Davis's career. When Gervonta Davis said he was going to retire last year sometime, I just shrugged my shoulders. Like, okay, retire then. You're not interested in fighting anybody elite, so retire. Who cares? If you're not going to fight Shakur Stevenson, then I really don't want to know. And of course, Shakur Stevenson is smart enough to build a relationship with Turki Alalshikh. Because like it or not, that's the way that boxing is going. It doesn't mean you have to sign a long-term deal with him, but as a prize fighter, you need to have some type of open line of communication. Even if you don't want to work with him right now, you want to at least be cordial. But Gervonta Davis, of course, has gone down the path of bridge burning in his typically crass fashion. So, like Tyson Fury, he's another one of these guys who is very talented, but he has such a horrendous attitude and such a horrendous way of conducting his boxing business that I will not miss this guy when he's gone. If he walked out the door tomorrow, I'd say good riddance. Because these types of diva-ish, cherry-picking, smoke and mirrors fighters are terrible for boxing. And that's not to say that Gervonta Davis isn't a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, very talented. But the limits of his talent are revealed in his antics, with the stipulations and what have you. They reveal the true limits of his talent. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Stank Davis, as some people call him. I think that's a great name, Stank Davis. The man's an idiot, stuck on stupid, and I hope he fades away into obscurity. Seriously, if he's not willing to get in there against Shakur Stevenson or some other elite fighter, then he can just tick right off as far as I'm concerned. I'm done with this guy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And by the way, if you'd like to hear a free 10-minute sample of my most recent topical podcast on Patreon, there's a link that you can click in the description below. The episode is about how to get over a breakup as a man. I've gotten great feedback on the episode. Several people who left comments on it seem to indicate that they're going through a difficult breakup right now. I'm an older guy in my mid-40s, been there, seen it, done it, bought the t-shirt 10 times over. So I like to be able to share the knowledge I've acquired over the years with younger men in the hope that it can help and assist them. So like I say, to listen to the free 10-minute sample, you don't have to sign up for anything. Just click the link in the description box below. And if you like what you hear and you want access to the full episode and all my other topical content on Patreon, then just follow the instructions in this trailer. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.